Welcome back to another episode of The Hardcore Casual with your boy, Bass the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. There are a couple of things to talk about before we get to Usyk to Fury, or Usyk versus Fury 2. What is it? The Ring of Fire Reignited. Cool name, but yeah, a couple things to chat about just before we get to that. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, as most of you will know by now, Dennis McCann has shown an adverse finding in a VADA test which came up just before his fight this weekend with Peter McGrail. Now, the interesting thing is that Frank Warren has stated that he failed for multiple substances. That's I think that was on either a stomping ground or an IFL TV interview that I saw. Now initially I thought it was just like one thing, one substance, but no, it says that there's multiple. It doesn't say what they are. We haven't received the word yet. His bloods came back clean, but his urine came back, adverse, or at least it has done thus far. They haven't opened the B sample yet, but the B sample was requested for, as far as I'm aware. Dennis McCann has sworn up and down that, he's innocent, he hasn't done anything, etc. Frank Warren has, said that he'll go through his process. He's currently suspended until the B sample gets opened. If the B sample's opened and it's the same supplements that are in the A sample, which obviously most people will know that the urine is literally the same sample of urine just poured into two separate containers. If that comes back positive as well, then he has to be able to explain how it got in his system, then has to be able to trace back his steps as to where this stuff came from, etc. Now the interesting thing is, it was a VADA test. It looks like it's the British Boxing Board of Control and UKAD that are going to be administering any potential investigation, or maybe the NADP potentially, I'm not quite sure, but it just harkens back to the Conor Benn subject from before, with who has jurisdiction over a VADA test. Is it the organization or the territory that is actually hosting the event that the fighter was due to fight on? Is it nobody? Is it everybody? Can every single territory be able to weigh in and ask for their own conclusions? Very interesting. I'm not even sure what the answers are. Like, what I do know is the fact that it said multiple substances, it's not looking good at all. Now look, as with everyone, due process has to be given. We have to give someone opportunity to clear their name, or to at least explain their actions before we vilify or exonerate them. One thing I will say though is, just by the general energy of Frank Warren thus far, he doesn't seem very much like he's gonna be riding out for Dennis McCann. I could imagine if this was maybe like a Hamza Shiraz or a Daniel Dubois, he may be a lot more. I'm not sure what's going on here. We're gonna have to get that B sample checked out. We're gonna have to do whatever it takes, because I know the kid and he wouldn't do that. It's not in his DNA. There's gotta be some bad apples in the crate, in the crew, in the camp. We're gonna get to the bottom of this one. He doesn't have any of that energy at all. It's just very much like he's got a process to go through, and we will deal with it when the process is over. We may work with him again if cleared, and if he's not cleared and he serves his ban, we'll see what happens. Like, there is just no energy from Frank to the defense of Dennis McCann, so he may know something. But But yeah, look, I'm not going to judge the poor kid. Clearly he ain't got Conor Ben type money, so trying to go through the lawyers and all the evidence and all that stuff, that's gonna take a lot. That's probably gonna take a lot more money than he has at his disposal. What I do know is if it's UCAD, on the strict liability alone, he's looking at a 2-year ban unless he can figure something out. They won't give you 1 year for cooperation. It's 2 years down from 4 if you can't prove that you didn't knowingly ingest. So yeah, you could be out of the sport until all 2026, 27 at this point. But let's wait and see what happens. But yeah, look, leave your comments down below. To me, it's sad. But it's also, I guess, necessary to get more people just outside of, matchroom fighters, because I'm sure it's not just matchroom fighters that, are popping hot. So more double base layers of testing for more events, please. Let's start weeding out the people, or at least making people be held accountable or explaining any adverses, and then we can maybe get the sport moving the way it needs to move. Or just let everyone take what they're taking and may the person with the best stuff win. I'll let you guys decide which course of action's better. Sticking with Ring of Fire Reignited, we're gonna have a 4th judge in the main event. So now Usyk versus Fury is also gonna be judged and officiated by an AI technology. Now, they haven't explained to us how they're going to achieve this. They haven't explained if the fighters are going to be wearing, like maybe invisible paint, or there's going to be micro sensors dotted around their bodies. If a special camera or 2 is going to be put on them with maybe like, what do they call it? Is it Lyra? Sort of that Lyra view or Lyra scan technology, similar to like CGI models or whatnot. I'll be interested to see how it works out specifically, but the judge will be there and they will be, I guess it will be scoring what punches effectively land, the speed and velocity of the shot that does land, maybe the overall aggression of the person in the ring, defense, how many punches actually landed to score in areas of the body and not deflected. I will be interested to see what the criterias are and how they've worded it. I've seen the trailer and the trailer looks interesting, but I just need to know in principle how it's going to get its assessment. It would be kind of cool, I suppose, if you maybe had like maybe a gyroscope around the ring with several cameras from several angles all honed into the 2 on the 2 image, and they track by personnel that are in the ring for 3 minutes at a time, and you get it from all different angles. So if one of the cameras can't particularly see the actual the shot land from their particular vantage point, but one of the other cameras is able to pick it up, that information gets fed in real time to the entire system to redraft the scoring or whatnot. I mean, all of that would be pretty cool. I can only imagine it's a costly experiment, because obviously that particular 4th judge scorecard will have no bearing on the final result. But here's the question. So let's say, for instance, just for argument's sake, Tyson Fury gets a unanimous decision victory, but the 4th, this 4th judge says that in 10 of the 12 rounds, not only did Alexander Usyk outland him to both head and body with jab and power punches, but the overall aggression and the velocity that came through was of more significance than the shots that Tyson Fury threw, or that maybe that power, what do they call it, that power by square force or something like that, was stronger or was harder each particular time. How would you not take that 4th judge's scorecard into account to say, well, these other 3 judges must be incorrect or something must be wrong, if this AI, which is doing nothing but scoring supposedly impartially, has given it in the other direction, and vice versa? It would be interesting. Or for instance, let's say that Alexander Usyk knocks Tyson Fury down, but then the AI judge actually sees that the punch itself didn't land, and the reason that Tyson Fury fell was because Alexander Usyk stepped on his foot, and as he was trying to back off, he tripped over. But he gets given a standing 8 count and subsequently loses the fight that way. Like, how does this AI rectify things moving forward? Obviously, like I said, it doesn't have bearing on this particular fight, but if it sees something so egregious to the rest of the event, surely you have to take it into consideration. I guess also the interesting thing is, how is it being set up? Like, what rules is it being given to adhere to? What programming is it being given? Is it being given programming to say you must award more favorably to the person that is always front foot heavy? Is it strictly just about what lands the cleanest, or is it the most impactful? Is it who can actually move around the ring and block shots effectively? Is it looking for the cleaner shots, or is it looking for the volume of shots? Like, what does it score? Or does it just give you a big compilation of all the data and then say, based on this assessment, this is the probable outcome? That's the one thing of it that I'm very, very interested to understand. And obviously it's not something I'll be focusing on fully during the fight, but when the fight's over, I will definitely be taking more of an in-depth look at this AI technology and what it's basically uncovered. But look, for the time being, it's at least much better than the whole 6-judge stupidness idea that Mauricio Sulaiman was talking about. If he had said 5 judges, I would have understood, because at least that's an uneven number. It's an odd number. You can't get a draw with a odd number of scorecards. Realistically, if we're gonna, it's very hard to do it with 5. You'd have to really be finagling a bunch of things. Whereas 6, obviously, you can have three people evenly for both guys. It's a bit of a mess. Plus, that's just more room for human error. What I would prefer, if they was gonna do more judges, I would prefer that you have the 3 judges at ringside, and then you maybe have 1, 2, or 3 away from the ringside watching monitors, headphones on. They can hear the crowd, but they can't hear the commentary. So all they get the vantage points and the angles that the 3 judges at ringside don't see. And then that way, and they're even able to maybe go back between rounds in close moments if need be. In between the rounds, they get a minute to be able to assess significant portions if they truly want to, and then they sort of collate whether around who they scored around to. And then if the 3 judges in ringside are widely and vastly different, you go to the VAR judges to see who they scored certain rounds to, and if both of them agree on a round, then the round gets awarded to that particular participant. Something along those lines, to me, would be a much better idea if you wanted to employ humans in it. But again, still human error, can still have briberies, you can still have inadequate people who don't know what they're looking at. So yeah, look, let's see what this AI stuff does. I'll be looking forward to it, something different. So yeah, look, let's get it. The last thing I want to talk about on this video, and there will be another one addressing some stuff away from Riyadh season, probably tomorrow, along with basis picks and all that good stuff, or even maybe Saturday before we do the watch along. But one thing, while I don't have any particular concerns about the outcome of the fight in terms of my prediction and how I see things playing out, which you guys will obviously hear maybe tomorrow, which is Friday, or obviously Saturday first thing before the event happens. But I get it that patriotism and all of that stuff towards the Brit, Tyson Fury, he can do it, we're picking him to win, we're behind him. But it doesn't sit right with me totally that the person that has engineered the card, the person that's put the money together, the person that is essentially the overlord promoter, is so heavily behind Tyson Fury. To be honest, it wouldn't sit right with me if he was heavily behind Alexander Usyk as well. But at least in that sense, I would look at it and say, well, Usyk is a much better representative of the sport. So I could see why. But it's just, you're supposed to be impartial. And if you're not impartial, you're at least supposed to like give some consideration to both, you know, both men. And the issue I have is not necessarily that I think, you know, that Turki Al-Sheikh is intentionally going to get Alexander Usyk robbed in this fight, because so far we've not seen any dodgy scorecards from him thus far, his events, where you say, oh, or well, actually, there may have been one or two where we're not sure about that, but generally speaking, there's never been any that are that totally egregious, especially to the person that he's wanted to win. I mean, he made no secret of expecting Deontay Wilder to beat Zhang and beat Parker, and you know, he was never robbed on Joseph Parker wasn't robbed on the scorecards. There could have been an argument to maybe say that he had more of an affinity to Nick Ball than Ray Ford, but I'll leave that one alone. My problem is this though. Remember, he is the head honcho guy there, or the figurehead, the big face of the organization and of Riyadh season as a whole. And he's doing great work and amazing work, but everyone wants to get onto Riyadh season cards. I'm sure every judge wants to be asked to appear, because I don't know if they have standard fees or they, you know, get paid show by show, but I would assume that being paid for a Riyadh show is a lot more lucrative than maybe just a regular York Hall show or an O2 or Indigo 2, OVO, etc., or even one of the smaller halls in America. So you want that, plus you get the 5-star treatment from the hotels. You know, people are all about subservience and all that stuff. So the whole notion of being there, I'm assuming, is very pleasant. And with, you know, Turkey's backing of Tyson Fury being so bold and so prevalent and so out there on social media, what would stop one of these judges from saying, you know what, I like coming out here, he hasn't asked me to do this, but I'm gonna look more favorably to the guy that he wants to win, because if I give off a good scorecard for him, maybe that means that I get brought back out to the next event, or maybe I just get more work. Now, I don't think that His Excellency has those kind of I don't think he's got those kind of morals in that sense. I don't think he will look to openly, you know, screw people. It's a dishonorable thing, and it's not something that, you know, Allah looks favorably on. You know, it's all about treating, you know, sort of know thy neighbor, love thy neighbor, similar to about like treat everyone of equal standing, within reason, of course. But so I would say it wouldn't necessarily sit right, but to someone who's not of a certain code and not of a certain, you know, dignity, they might think that the idea, let me look more favorably this way, and that might grant me future opportunities. I mean, let's be honest, the first Fury Usyk fight, there is no way whatsoever that you score that fight in any way, shape or form to Tyson Fury to get a split decision. There's no realm, there's no, you know, there's no earth, there's no television, there's no set of eyes that realistically can give 7 rounds to Tyson Fury. Everyone who's done the watch alongs, the watch backs, even the people that were, you know, so oh, this is a real close fight, most of them have now all done their watch backs and said, oh, Usyk won it by like 4 rounds, 3 to 4 points. Absolute best score you give Tyson Fury is 115, 112. But someone managed to score it for him. In the Anthony Joshua rematch fight, a judge managed to score the fight in Anthony Joshua's favor. Bearing in mind, there's absolutely no way that he won 7 rounds in that fight. It's funny, the first fight, I gave it 117, 111 to Usyk. In the second fight, I gave it 117, 112. The only difference was Joshua managed to get a draw round on my scorecard. Even though he done better, he still didn't do enough to beat him. But people, obviously, because Joshua and Fury were the golden gooses, I guess the money people of division. A judge found favor in what they were doing, hoping obviously that would maybe curry future favor down the line. But that's magnified at Riyadh season. So again, with such a groundswell of support from not only Eddie Hearn, not only Frank Warren, Spencer Brown, His Excellency, and pretty much everyone else that was on that top table or that's been in and around, even the guys that are like, Barry Jones, I think he's got something in him to do it. Darren Barker, I think, is potentially looking at it as well. Everyone who picked Fury the first time are trying to pick him again, apart from I think Johnny Nelson and Spencer Oliver, I think, are the only people. You've even got the Talk Sport lot with flipping Simon Jordan, who knows absolutely nothing about nothing. Fury, just basically off of a belief. There's people in some of my groups that are picking Fury. I'm not going to mention who, and it's not even, they're allowed to pick, that's just their thoughts and feelings. But with such this big groundswell and this level of patriotism, and it could be exactly the same way in Ukraine and Poland and the other areas and other territories where they're doing heavily pro Alexander Usyk as well. But the only difference with that is they have data to back up the fact that Usyk is likely to win the fight because he won the first one. But with all of that, with everything that we see in the Western English-speaking media and world, the majority seem to be going with Tyson Fury. And it just, again, rubs me up the wrong way that with all of them going for Tyson Fury, having the main guy who's put on the show and who basically is the promoter of the show being so heavily towards him as well, it just means that Alexander Usyk is literally, he's on 2-pack settings right about now. It's me against the world. It's me against the establishment. It's like back to the wall. I have to take out everyone. I'm running the gauntlet. Tyson Fury is essentially, he's the last piece of the gauntlet, but I've got to get through all of you guys first. Can he rise to the challenge? I guess we'll wait and see on Saturday. You guys can wait for my predictions, which will be out soon enough for you guys to see who I think wins, how I think they win. And if you know me well enough, you should pretty much know which way I'm going to go. But I'm going to make it interesting because there's going to be a couple angles you probably haven't thought of that I'm about to address to you, and I might shock some of you with my thought process and my final prediction. But with that being said, please leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think of everything I've spoken about. I appreciate you. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. But for right now, it's the Hardcore Casual out.